All right, so here I have my little picture underneath my piece of paper, and my light box is on it. And again, you're gonna notice that it doesn't quite go to the edge. You are gonna have to make up some of that information, but usually it just means continuing a line. Now, the thing you want to do immediately is center it like so and then trace. No. You're going to have the picture of your object on top of this, both a cutout silhouette as well as a secondary drawing. This is a background. So we're using this for information to fill the background, but it isn't going to be our main focal point. So what that means is that we have a little bit of room to play around and move where this is. Remember, rule of thirds says we don't want our main focal point in the center, and you don't want anything too complex in the center because that'll draw a lot of attention. So over here, right now, my faces are pretty close to center. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna move mine off to one side so that I can have them kind of over here. And once I have them over here, that means that I have this room over here to put my actual object whenever I have it drawn out. So now that I've kind of put this where I want it to go, I'm gonna have our faces over here in the corner. I'm gonna use a little bit of tape. Pinch those together so they don't move. I'm gonna tape this down. And you can do one spot, you can do two. I like two just because I am paranoid. And now it won't wiggle around on me, even if I have to move and check these out. Or like move because the class period is ended or something. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna very lightly, using my pencil, come around and start tracing out the lines I'd traced before. And as you can see, with this light box, it's pretty bright, and so being able to see all the changes in my lights and darks isn't going to be very difficult, except where I have a lot of little details. That's where that Sharpie really helps me out, especially things that are really dark, like my pair of sunglasses right here. So I'm gonna start tracing this out, and then you'll see it again once it's all on paper.
Do you do it lightly or like?
Oh yeah, always draw lightly. Since, as I said, this is gonna be a watercolor, water-soluble colored pencil, or water-soluble graphite, something like that. Because you're using one of those thinner materials, you definitely want to make sure you're tracing light. If you have a heavy hand and there's nothing you can do about it, what you want to do is trace as lightly as you can and then use your eraser to lighten up the lines so they're not super dark. Because we do not want these lines looking like crazy little outlines on our background. We want them to be nice, smooth, not really their lines. All right, check back in a minute. All right, so I've done and traced all of the parts of me and my sister. Again, I left off this background stuff, which you'll be able to see a little bit more clearly in a second when I get it off the light. But I do want to show you some things that I omitted other than just the background to make my life a little bit less insanity-inducing. First off, I had text on my shirt. You'll notice that I do not have this traced either in Sharpie or on this paper. It is completely blank. That is because text is super annoying to do. If it is super important, obviously you can include it if you so choose, but it is something that will drive you crazy. Very, very similarly, the pattern on my sister's shirt has been left out. So you can see that that, again, has not been traced or anything of that nature. So those were some of my simplifications that made my life better. Do not try and do that with people's faces. That is not okay. People have eyeballs. We want them to smell your good luck. So make sure that you're including all of those. I did simplify things like her earrings that had a lot of tiny, tiny details that I didn't want to worry about. Again, that's a choice that you're going to have to make on whether or not that's something that you simplify as well. But I do encourage it for things that are minor and or not as important. So now that I have this, oh, one more thing. Again, here's what I mean by you'll have to continue some of the lines. Her shoulder, whenever I twisted the page, no longer reached the edge, so I had to bring it back, as well as the underside of her arm down here at the front of her shirt. And when I twisted it, the addition that I added to part of my shoulder actually stopped needing to be necessary, so it just ran off the edge. So now, boo-boo, this is what it looks like. This is what I'm left with. Now it looks odd because this is all one piece, but because on my piece of paper, all of it is essentially one black area, save for the text on my shirt, it is exactly what it needs to be. So there I go. I can take this off, and now I'm ready to start my watercolor process, which is going to begin with picking some colors.